Okay, picture this for a second. Your marriage, it feels, well, pretty great right now. The laughter comes easy. You're talking, connecting. There's this real warmth in your home. It feels like you and your partner have really hit your stride. Things feel peaceful, aligned. Now, what if I told you that this moment, this season of real harmony is exactly when your relationship needs maybe the most careful attention, the strongest protection? Yeah, not when it's all falling apart, but actually when things feel, perfectly good. You're welcome to our engaging conversation segment on Healthy Relationship Plug. We're here to cut through some of the noise and bring you insights that hopefully really make a difference on your journey. Today, we are getting into a vital one, I think, for every Christian marriage. It's one that often gets pushed aside, maybe even forgotten precisely when things are going well. It's not just about fixing problems when they pop up. It's really about preserving that beautiful bond you've worked so hard to build. We're going to look at why this is just non-negotiable for a marriage that doesn't just last, but is, genuinely joyful.
It is a bit strange when you think about it that way, isn't it? Our first instinct usually is to sort of activate the defenses only when we see a clear threat, right? So when a relationship is rocky, when arguments are flaring, or misunderstandings keep happening, or maybe there's just that cold distance creeping in.
Yeah, you feel that.
That's when we rush instinctively to seek divine help. We turn to prayer, to spiritual tools for fixing things, for healing. We see that sacred conversation kind of like the emergency siren on a ship.
Right.
Only goes off when it's obvious there's water coming in, when trust is shaky or the whole house just feels tense. And look, let's be clear. Yes, that practice, that prayer is absolutely essential in those tough times. It brings comfort, guidance. It can even bring breakthroughs when things look really bleak.
Well, absolutely. I mean, when conflict blows up or you feel that chill you mentioned, that emotional distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first reaction for many is, okay, time to pray. We need help now. It's almost like the ultimate, break glass in case of emergency button for your relationship.
Right.
And it does bring comfort in those moments. You often feel a shift. Maybe the burden feels lighter. You see a way forward. But you're suggesting we need to think beyond just crisis management.
Exactly. That's the core of it. What often gets missed, and this is what we really want to shed light on today, is that this sacred connection, this direct line to God, isn't just for putting out fires after they've started. Maybe its primary, its foundational purpose is actually for fortifying the very essence, the core of your union. Think of it less like a repair kit you only dig out when something's cracked or broken.
Okay.
And more like a really high-grade spiritual sealant.
A sealant.
Yeah, something you apply proactively, consistently, around something precious you want to keep, pristine and secure. It's about building those spiritual walls before anything crumbles, before the cracks even think about appearing. It's really an act of anticipatory preservation, recognizing how valuable this thing is and committing to keeping it safe, always. It's like having a spiritual maintenance schedule for your marriage, not just calling roadside assistance when you break down.
That reframing. Wow, that makes a lot of sense. Because that peaceful space, that loving feeling, that joy you share with your partner right now, that feeling of being truly seen and heard and just appreciated, that didn't just appear out of thin air, did it? It wasn't just luck. It was built meticulously.
Yes.
You tended to it, you nurtured it, sometimes with incredible effort, right?
Yeah.
Countless honest talks, forgiving each other, choosing each other again and again.
Precisely. It's the result of intention and work. And so to leave something that beautiful that you built so carefully just exposed without consistent spiritual protection, that's taking a huge risk with its integrity. It's like, imagine planting this amazing, vibrant garden. You pour your heart into it, cultivating every single plant, watching it bloom. It's breathtaking.
Yeah.
And then you just walk away, never water it again, and just expect it to keep flourishing forever.
You wouldn't do that.
Of course, no. You wouldn't do that with a prized rose bush, let alone your marriage. You know instinctively that a garden, no matter how gorgeous, needs continuous, tender care to stay that way. The truth is, you don't just use this spiritual practice, this prayer, to fix what's broken. You use it, maybe even more intentionally, to guard what's already whole and good. And here's a really critical point, one that's often missed. The spiritual adversary, the one the scriptures warn us about. He doesn't just go after what's already broken or weak. Actually, he specifically, strategically targets what is strong, what is unified, what is beautiful.
Why? Why target the strong ones?
Because the more united a couple is, the more powerful they become. They're a unified front in the spiritual realm. Their agreement, their love, their shared purpose, it becomes this significant force for good, a real beacon. And some forces want to extinguish that light. They're not just a couple anymore. They're a formidable team doing good.
Okay, but that still sounds so counterintuitive. You know, you're there, you're laughing over breakfast, holding hands, watching a movie, having great conversations, maybe you're praying together. You feel really connected. This is exactly what, from a faith perspective, marriage is supposed to look like. This is health. This is thriving. It's the goal. So why would that perfect moment be the time to double down on spiritual vigilance? It feels like being told to fix your roof when the sun is shining brightly.
It is a paradox, a really significant one, and it trips a lot of couples up, I think. But that very alignment, that unity, that state of flourishing, that's precisely why the spiritual adversary gets, well, concerned, highly concerned. Think about it. When a husband and wife are walking in agreement, when their hearts are truly connected in loving grace, when they've learned how to handle life's bumps with intention and compassion, when their partnership is built on truth and steadfast purpose, that's when the opposing forces start losing ground. Big time.
Okay.
They're not really worried when couples are fighting all the time, or when they're disconnected, or when resentment is just simmering under the surface.
Right, the damage is already happening now.
Exactly. In those moments, the work is often already done for them, you know?
Yeah.
Disunity weakens the bond automatically. But when couples are truly in agreement, when they operate like a single, unified unit with a shared vision, that's when a different kind of spiritual alarm bell goes off. Their harmony itself becomes a threat to disharmony.
It makes me think of that really powerful statement in Scripture. If two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father in heaven. That's not just a nice phrase, is it? That's talking about some serious spiritual power locked up in agreement. Do we even grasp how potent that is?
That is the absolute heart of the matter. Do you truly understand, deep down in your soul, how powerful your agreement, your unity as a married couple actually is? Because the spiritual realm, it gets it. It understands the incredible power that's unleashed when two people, bound together by God's design, stand together in faith and purpose. And that's why you might suddenly notice these little subtle issues cropping up, seemingly out of nowhere, often when you least expect them.
Like what kind of issues?
Well, maybe think about this. One day, a comment your spouse makes something totally trivial, something you'd normally just shrug off, it suddenly just sticks in your head, and you find yourself replaying it, and it starts to feel like a much bigger offense than it actually was.
Okay, yeah, I can see that happening.
Or maybe you find yourselves just consistently misinterpreting each other, you know? Little arguments flare up over things that usually wouldn't even cause a ripple. These aren't just random blips. They can be tiny, almost invisible seeds of discord planted just to create friction where there wasn't any before.
So it's not always a huge dramatic explosion, but these almost unseen little shifts.
Exactly. Or maybe temptations just subtly ramp up precisely when everything on the surface looks great. Suddenly doing your own thing seems way more appealing than spending time together. Or this little nagging voice of discontentment starts whispering about your circumstances, or even about your spouse's little quirks that you usually find endearing.
Wow.
It doesn't necessarily mean something is fundamentally wrong with your partnership in that moment. It often means the opposite. It means something is working, and working really well. Your thriving marriage, this beacon of unity, is a force that, well, some other forces desperately want to dim or put out altogether. Think of it like a strong fortress. When does a fortress get attacked?
When it's strong.
Wow.
Right, not when it's already falling down.
Precisely. It's attacked when it's strong, fully operational, posing a real strategic threat. Your unified marriage. That's a strong fortress. And its very strength makes it a target.
Okay. So if we're saying we need to consistently protect this love, guard that flame, even when it feels easy and bright when the sun is shining, what does that actually look like day to day? It can't be some super complicated time-sucking ritual, can it? Because, let's be real, life is incredibly busy. We're all juggling so much.
You're absolutely right. It doesn't need to be complex. Not at all. Actually, its power often lies in how simple and consistent it is. It's about intentional, simple actions that just get woven into the rhythm of your everyday life. For instance, it might look like waking up in the morning, maybe even before your feet hit the floor, and just taking a genuine moment, thank God for your spouse, really mean it, before you grab your phone, before you check email.
To start with gratitude.
Yes. It's a deliberate act of gratitude. Acknowledging the gift they are in your life right at the start of the day. And that's not just saying words. It shifts your whole perspective. It primes your heart to see them through eyes of appreciation all day long.
I can definitely see how that would set a positive tone right away.
Yeah.
What about physical connection, like holding hands? You mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that fit in?
Oh, absolutely. It could mean intentionally laying hands on each other at night, maybe just a gentle touch on the shoulder, or holding hands for a moment before you fall asleep. Not because there's a crisis brewing or you need some emergency divine intervention,
Right.
but simply because you are proactively, consciously placing your connection under God's protection as you rest. It's this quiet, tender way of reaffirming your spiritual bond, a silent promise, almost, to keep each other covered. It's symbolic, yeah, but symbols have power. It dedicates your shared space.
And what about scripture? Engaging with the Bible. Is that something you only pull out when you're desperately searching for answers during a tough time or, feel like you need a major breakthrough?
Not in the slightest. In this context, it looks like covering your partnership with Scripture, but not from a place of fear, like, oh no, what if something bad happens? No, it's from a place of deep wisdom. Foresight, even.
Mm-hmm.
It's a proactive measure, like getting your car regularly serviced, not waiting until it breaks down on the highway, but doing it to keep it running smoothly for the long haul. It's about speaking God's promises over your marriage, reminding yourselves and each other of divine truths about love, patience, kindness, forgiveness, endurance.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Maybe you pick out verses about forgiveness and mercy and you consciously speak them over your relationship, even when there's absolutely nothing specific to forgive right then. Or you find verses about unity, about shared purpose, and you actively think about, maybe even talk about, how they apply to the dreams you share as a couple.
So it's like you're building up a spiritual muscle, getting it strong, not just using it in emergencies.
Precisely. And furthermore, it's also about intentionally asking God for insight, for discernment,
Yeah.
to expose those unseen traps, those subtle little snares that might be laid out for you without you even knowing. It's praying for awareness of, say, silent offenses that might be building up under the radar.
Like what?
Like maybe a little habit one spouse has that slowly, quietly irritates the other, but it's never brought up, so it just simmers into resentment.
Oh, yeah. Those are dangerous.
Very. Or praying against secret temptations that could be targeting either of you individually. Maybe the temptation to pull away, to isolate, or to seek comfort in work or a hobby or somewhere else instead of turning towards your spouse. And perhaps most crucially, it's about recognizing and praying against those slow, almost imperceptible drifts, where you just gradually, gently, without even realizing it's happening, start moving apart. Imagine two ships tied loosely together. They drift apart just a tiny bit, millimeter by millimeter. Over weeks or months, that tiny drift becomes a huge gap. This practice helps you spot that drift early.
Wow. So it really gives you a kind of like a spiritual radar system, doesn't it? A heightened sensitivity to the subtle currents flowing in your relationship.
Exactly that. This consistent practice, it cultivates spiritual discernment within you, both individually and as a couple. It helps you sense when something feels just slightly off. Even when everything looks totally normal on the outside, you might notice a subtle change in how you talk to each other, maybe a little less laughter, or you find yourselves avoiding certain topics. You might pick up on a slight hesitation in your spouse's voice, or see a flicker of something in their eyes you can't quite name. Or maybe it's just a quiet nudge in your spirit that says, hang on, pause, ask about that, check in. Now, this isn't about being paranoid or suspicious. It's about sensitive awareness. And what it does is it builds these really robust spiritual walls around your home, around your marriage, creating a sacred space that's genuinely fortified, protected. And that makes it exponentially harder for negativity, for disunity, for external pressures or internal cracks to even get close, let alone gain a foothold and take root. It's like having both an advanced warning system and a really strong immune system for your most important relationship.
We all love those good vibes, right? That feeling of just a bubbling joy, communication flowing effortlessly, those overwhelming positive emotions in our marriage. They feel fantastic, like you're floating. But are those amazing feelings, as wonderful as they are they really enough to sustain a marriage, keep it strong and resilient for the long haul through thick and thin? Because life isn't always sunshine and butterflies, is it?
You've really hit on a critical distinction there, and the answer is absolutely not. While emotions are beautiful, they're a vital part of being human, they are, by their very nature, changeable. They shift. They can fluctuate with circumstances, with your mood, maybe even just with the weather. A true partnership, one that really endures and actually thrives over decades. It isn't held together just by those fleeting feelings. It's sustained by deep, unwavering intentionality.
Intentionality, okay.
Yes, it's a series of conscious choices
Mm.
made day after day after day, regardless of how you might feel in that particular moment. And this consistent daily practice we're talking about, this spiritual safeguarding, this proactive prayer, it's a cornerstone of that intention. It's fundamental. It's how you continuously, deliberately cover each other in a love that goes beyond temporary emotions, a love that's rooted in something deeper, more steadfast. Commitment. It's about building a love that doesn't just rely on the sunny days, but is sturdy enough to weather any storm that comes. And this practice, it actively cultivates that kind of resilient intentionality. It makes it part of your marriage's DNA.
There's also this really powerful element of interceding for your partner, praying for them, specifically for their protection or needs, even when they might not have a clue that they're facing any kind of spiritual pressure or challenge. For listeners who might be new to that idea, could you maybe explain what interceding really means here?
Certainly, yeah, interceding. For anyone unfamiliar with the term, it basically means standing in prayer on behalf of someone else. You're essentially advocating for them, spiritually speaking, before God.
Okay.
So, in a marriage context, it means you are actively praying for your spouse's well-being, for their spiritual protection, their strength, their wisdom, maybe even for the specific things they're called to do in life. And praying against challenges they might be facing that maybe you don't even know about consciously. It's how you step into this role of being a spiritual guardian for the person you love most. You're standing in the gap for them, spiritually supporting them, protecting them, even when they're asleep or busy at work, totally unaware of unseen forces that might be swirling around. It's a deeply selfless act of love.
So it's almost like being a silent warrior for their soul, protecting them from things they might not even see coming.
Precisely. That's a great way to put it. And this practice, this intercession, it's also how you collectively humble yourselves as a couple. It's how you acknowledge that your union, even though it might feel strong and beautiful, isn't actually self-sustaining. It needs divine input. It keeps God right there at the very center of your marriage, even during those easy, abundant seasons when it might be tempting to think, hey, we've got this figured out, and rely only on your own strength or personalities.
Right, coasting on the good times.
Yeah. Instead, it's this constant acknowledgement that your love story isn't just your story. It's part of something much bigger, a sacred design, a divine purpose. And because of that, it requires constant alignment with that higher purpose, always yielding to the wisdom and guidance of the Creator. And that humility, it isn't weakness, it's actually the ultimate strength because it taps into this infinite source of power and protection that no amount of human effort alone can ever match. It reminds you both that your love is a precious gift, and gifts need ongoing care.
So, okay, here it is. The big, powerful reminder for all of us listening. Don't wait. Don't wait until you feel like you're falling apart. Don't wait until your relationship feels like it's right on the edge, teetering, before you decide to fall on your knees.
Yeah.
That's like waiting for your house to be fully ablaze before you think about installing a smoke detector. It doesn't make any logical sense.
Indeed. Please don't wait until some small, seemingly minor offense, maybe a sarcastic remark that really stung but was never discussed, or an unacknowledged slight that was never truly forgiven. Don't wait until that festers and grows into deep-seated resentment that just poisons everything. Because those little things left unaddressed, they create this bitter root that over time will choke the life and joy right out of your connection. Don't wait until that subtle emotional distance starts to form, where the conversations become shallow, you share less of your inner thoughts and feelings, and real intimacy starts to feel strained or awkward. That drift is so dangerous.
It really is.
And absolutely, don't wait until something significant actually breaks, a promise gets broken, trust is shattered, or just the whole spirit of your shared life feels fractured before you invite God fully, intimately into your shared space. That invitation, it needs to be constant. A standing, open-door policy, a perpetual welcome mat laid out for the sacred presence in your home, in your hearts, in your marriage. It's about creating a spiritual atmosphere where God isn't just the emergency contact, but resides as a constant, welcomed guest, a trusted friend and guide, always present.
So the message is, bring this practice into your life now. Not tomorrow, not next week when you have more time, not when things eventually get tough, but right now, today. While the laughter is still loud, while it echoes through your home, while the bedroom feels warm and safe and intimate like a real sanctuary, while maybe your kids are doing well, thriving in that stable, loving environment you've built, while finances might be flowing okay, giving you some breathing room, while love feels easy, natural, abundant, This is the absolute optimal time, the best window to really fortify your bond.
Because the most strategic time to build that high, strong seawall around your precious home, to construct those spiritual defenses layer by layer, is before any storm clouds even appear on the horizon, before any challenge comes knocking. You wouldn't wait for the hurricane warning to actually sound before you start boarding up your windows, right?
No, you be prepared.
You do it when the weather is calm in preparation. As that ancient wisdom warns us, with an urgency that still rings true today, be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour.
Don't, even for a second, let that be your marriage. Don't let complacency during the good times become an unintentional open invitation for disruption later on. Take the initiative. Be proactive. Guard what you cherish most.
So when we boil it all down, what's the core takeaway here? The simplest action.
It really is simple, beautifully simple.
Pray for your spouse.
Pray with your spouse.
Pray when it's good.
Pray to keep it good. Because the strongest marriages, the ones that truly last and thrive, they aren't the ones that somehow magically avoid all storms.
No, they're the ones that learn to consistently, intentionally bring their relationship before God, long before the storms ever even gather on the horizon, preparing their hearts, preparing their home to weather absolutely anything together.
We've talked today about something really significant, the importance of proactive spiritual practices in your marriage. It's clearly not just a last resort for emergencies. It's this constant foundational way to preserve and grow your connection. It's about recognizing that there are real spiritual dynamics happening, often unseen, and choosing to actively, intentionally fortify your sacred union from the inside out, making it truly resilient.
And so we really want to invite you, genuinely, sincerely, to make this a daily rhythm in your life. Remember what we said, it doesn't have to start big or complicated. Maybe you just begin with one single minute in the morning, just whispering a heartfelt thank you for your spouse, dedicating your day together to God. Or perhaps it's simply holding hands before you fall asleep, silently committing your connection to divine care, to protection. If this conversation, if anything we talked about today resonated with you, if it sparked a new thought or maybe confirmed something you've always felt deep down, then please think about sharing this insight. Share it with another couple, someone who might really benefit from this perspective right now. Let's try and start a ripple effect, more strong, protected, thriving partnerships out there.
And here's something to really ponder. If a partnership keeps growing stronger, more resilient, more vibrant through this kind of consistent, intentional practice of spiritual dedication, what unseen breakthroughs might be waiting for you? What blessings, maybe bigger than you can currently imagine? What even deeper levels of joy and connection might be just around the corner? Things you haven't even dared to dream of yet. The journey of connection, it's ongoing, isn't it? It's this incredible adventure, and it's just filled with endless possibilities when we guard it with this kind of thoughtful intention. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation here on The Deep Dive. Really look forward to sharing more illuminating insights with you next time.